Alright, the original Fallout on a real Windows 95 PC, as you can see here. We'll talk a little bit more about the PC later. I don't think I need to worry about registration. I'm okay with forfeiting. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for now, we're going to go ahead and make our character. I'm going to skip over this initial intro that comes, like the startup intro that comes after this. Just because there's some licensed music and I don't have the license. So I'll cut that in later. I'm going to have to talk over like the first minute of it, but we'll at least get to see or hear like Ron Perlman talk to us a little bit about how war never changes, I guess. We're going to just go ahead and make a new character for this one though. We do have, of course, the default characters. We'll make our own. And, this is actually since we're playing on an old version of the game, this is version 1.1 pre-patched on the disc, but it's, an older disc version of the game, and, it is not censored like all of the digital copies that are currently available, though you can get patches to kind of like fix what was removed, in the current digital versions, as I understand it. But for example, something like this Chem Reliant trait here, this icon is not present. Just too much for your sensitive little faces, and like the needles are gone. I think it's actually in the modern versions it's just this, but with no needles for both of these pictures. So it's a minor thing. The other thing is like kids were removed from the game, so that you can't kill them, basically. So yeah, we'll get to see some kids running around at some point. But those might be the only two things. I'm not sure if there are others. But anyway, let's get back to making our character here. So what are we going to do? I've been thinking about this a little bit. And since I've never beaten this game, I've only played through, I don't know, a quarter of it, half of it. Not really sure. It was a long time ago. I think we're going to go with kind of like a balanced build here. I know I haven't done too much like research about mechanics, but I know a little bit about the game. So we got our special stats here, of course. We're going to go with a little bit of a higher than average strength. I think perception is fine as it is. Because there's a perk that I want to get that requires 5 perception, at least according to the manual. For endurance, I think we just do an extra point here because if you see our healing rate down here, it'll double our healing rates. This is like the amount of HP we get back per hour, I think, of like resting, something like that. So that just seems like it could be useful. Aside from that, we need a high intelligence for sure. At least gonna go with a 6, maybe more. We'll see. And we definitely need a high agility. And then I think we could actually... I don't think charisma is that important in this game. Definitely at least want an 8 agility. Because every 2 points of agility gets us an extra action point. And that's what we use for, like, combat, basically. It's pretty important, as I recall. Now, intelligence does give us 2 extra skill points per level. But I think a 6 is actually enough. I'm actually maybe going to do this, because that'll open up like a couple other perks if we decide we want them. You don't get that many perks. I think the max level in this game is like 21. If I recall from the manual. And you only get 1 perk every 3 levels anyway. So, they're pretty limited. Yeah, I think this seems pretty reasonable. We'll get a decent amount of skill points. Every level you actually get 5, I think, base, and then twice your intelligence on top of that. So we'll get 17 per level. Now, as far as our skills go, I know that I want small guns just for our own sanity in the early game. I know that there are like Big guns is for like rocket launchers and miniguns, that kind of thing. Energy weapons are for laser guns and plasma type guns, I think. Yeah. But I don't know where any of that stuff is. Because again, like I haven't played this game in absolutely ages, so this is practically going to be a blind playthrough, aside from me just messing around for like an hour, testing, recording, and stuff. Unarmed, I think you probably could make a good unarmed or melee build, but I don't think I can do that with my limited game knowledge here. Throwing seems kind of bad. First aid maybe is important, but I think there's like first aid kits, which will like boost your skill for a limited number of uses, and the same with doctor. I think there's like doctor bags. So if you're familiar with like the more modern Fallouts, these are kind of combined by using like stim packs on limbs and stuff. Whereas in this game, yeah, first aid is for like healing general HP, and doctors for healing crippled limbs, I believe here. Sneak could be good. Lockpick maybe. Steel, I know can be useful. Traps, I don't really know that much about. I think science is going to be a fun one though. Because it'll let us like get a little bit more info in some situations, I think anyway, like when we're looking at computers and stuff like that. And also, yeah, so what tagging does is it gives you 20 extra skill points up front, but it also doubles your skill point investment. So when I put 1 skill point into science or small guns, when we level up, we'll actually get 2% increase instead of 1% increase. Now, as for our final skill, I think speech, you know, there's a case to be made for that. Barter, maybe, I don't know. And outdoorsman, again, I'm not even really sure what this does for us. I know there's some perks that make it so we get less encounters out in the world when we're walking around, but I would prefer to actually get the encounters, I think. Just so we can see more stuff. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with repair. There are skill books in the game as well that like will increase some of these skills. I don't know if there's one for all of them, but there are a few. I don't know. I know where one is. Just from some limited testing here, but it's very, very early on in the game. But the others, I have no idea. Yeah, and like gambling is a skill. I don't know, that seems just kind of weird. If we were doing like a luck build, maybe that would be fun, but we're not doing that. Yeah, as far as this other stuff goes, kind of what you see on the tin, sequences like our initiative. And then you get like 1% crit for every point of luck. 25 extra carry weight per point of strength. And armor class, a little bit more complicated. We'll talk about that in the next one when we get into a little bit of combat, maybe. But yeah, the only other thing we got here are the traits. We can pick 2 of them. I'm going to pick this one because it's... I remember picking this when I played through the game before, however much I played of it, and it's a lot of fun. So basically what it does is when you fail, I think it basically, yeah, like just increases the severity of the failure. So funny things happen, like enemies will shoot their allies in the back, you know, or something like that. Or but it applies to us as well. So if we fail and we miss, like when we're shooting, stuff that could happen is like we shoot, you know, an innocent, for example, or drop our gun, or like lose our ammo, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's just fun. This is also a really fun one. It just gives you like the most violent animations when people die. And I am sort of tempted. It doesn't do anything other than that. In the more modern games, it also increases damage, I think. But I don't think I really want that one. I think like finesse could be good if we're doing like a more crit based build, but we're not. Small frame could be good because it gives us an extra point of agility, but it reduces our carry weight pretty substantially. Fast shot is pretty good as well, but it makes it so we can't do aimed shots, which I kind of want to be able to play around with. So I gotta take that one. good natured. I think this is basically like Lucy from the Fallout show. I think that was her name, right? Lucy? I think so. So what this does is it'll take 10% off of all of our combat stats, but then give us a 15% boost to first aid, doctor, speech, and barter. That actually doesn't sound too bad because it's like an even trade of skill points, 60 points for 60 points. But I'm not going to use unarmed, probably, or melee weapons all that much, or throwing. So I'm really losing like 30 points, and I already have this tagged. And then I get, 30 points to 2 skills I'm probably going to be forced to use a fair bit. And then same with like speech and barter. So that's pretty tempting. I may actually go with that. It does hurt our small guns a bit, which is unfortunate. But since we're tagged, we'll be able to level that up pretty quickly. I am tempted to take Kimmerlion just because it's one of the censored images, but how many times are we really gonna click on it? And I have no idea if chems are good in this game or not. I tend not to use them in the newer ones. So we recover faster from ill effects, but we are more likely to get addicted. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm inclined to go with these two. And I think that's it, except for our name and our age. I think the oldest we can be is like 30, 35. I don't think this makes any difference whatsoever. Of course, we can be male or female. We'll be male. I imagine being female does change the dialogue in some areas, though. And then we need a name. Actually, I haven't thought about this, so give me a sec to think of a cool name for a character. Well, since the game takes place in the good old US of A, how about Johnny Freedom? We only have so much character space, though. We can't fit the whole thing. I try to put in, something like that, I think. Yeah, we run out of space. So, old J Freedom it is. Alright, I think that's it. When I click done, we're going to get a different intro that I'm going to cut into the next episode. This will be kind of explaining the story of what we're specifically doing. So, yeah, I'll put that in the next one. But for now, let's talk about the computer really briefly here. And I'll cut in the sort of starter cinematic when the game starts up as I'm talking here, where appropriate at some point. So, yeah, we're playing on a real Windows 95 PC off of a real physical disc. It's one of the like dual jewel versions that comes with Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, but you don't get like the big box or manual or any of that fun stuff. But yeah, the computer is like way overkill for Windows 95. I actually wanted to try playing this on my Rendition Verite Pentium 2 machine, which would have been a lot more appropriate. But unfortunately, there are like kind of some graphical glitches that I think would have been too distracting to commit to video. So we're going with this one instead. This computer has a 700 megahertz Athlon Thunderbird processor, but it's like the slot kind, which I think was only an OEM based on like some brief research. But whatever, I don't know. I got it online for cheap at one point, and it seems to work well. We've also got an NVIDIA Riva TNT2 card, not like a Pro, or I don't remember the exact models. It's just like a bog standard TNT2, and it's got I think 32 megs of RAM. It doesn't really matter for this game. It runs at 640 by 480 anyway, so yeah, I don't think we need that much RAM for that, but that's what it's got. And then for sound, I believe this machine has an AW64 value of some kind from Creative Labs. Pretty standard sound card. So nothing too terribly fancy. This game came out, I think, a little bit before EAX and stuff like that started to exist. I think maybe Fallout 2 might have some EAX support, but this game doesn't need to worry about it. So, yeah, just a pretty basic sound card there and everything. And yeah, I think that's it. I don't know exactly what kind of hard drive, but it's, you know, roughly era appropriate, I think. Probably a little newer. Certainly newer than Windows 95 era, but you know, it's some kind of IDE hard drive, I'm pretty sure. So the load times, I don't know. And then maybe a little bit long, they may not. I guess we'll find out as we play. But beyond that, I think that's probably pretty much everything that's important to know about the game. We do have like a full installation, so everything's going to be running off the hard drive. And with that, I guess I will see you in the next video.
War. War never changes. The Romans waged war to gather slaves and wealth. Spain built an empire from its lust for gold and territory. Hitler shaped a battered Germany into an economic superpower. But war never changes. In the 21st century, war was still waged over the resources that could be acquired. Only this time, the spoils of war were also its weapons: petroleum and uranium. For these resources, China would invade Alaska, the US would annex Canada, and the European Commonwealth would dissolve into quarreling, bickering nation-states bent on controlling the last remaining resources on Earth. In 2077, the storm of World War had come again. In 2 brief hours, most of the planet was reduced to cinders. And from the ashes of nuclear devastation, a new civilization would struggle to arise. A few were able to reach the relative safety of the large underground vaults. Your family was part of that group that entered Vault 13. Imprisoned safely behind the large vault door, under a mountain of stone, a generation has lived without knowledge of the outside world. Life in the vault is about to change.